Thank you. You're indeed a charitable, wonderful, giving audience. And I think you should lay it on this trio. They're doing a very fine job for you here. Yeah. And this morning we played a little bit, and afterwards people in the class asked the trio some questions. So if there's any questions or any comments or anything that anybody cares to ask at this time, we're going to make this an open forum and start a few minutes of a little dialogue here. Did you like it or not? Or we'll start there. Right, yeah. Just any kind of questions anybody has about anything that has to do with this thing called jazz. Sociologically, psychologically, financially, anything. Just ask it, yeah.
Some of your tunes are in the illegal Facebook. How
Right.
do you feel about that? Do you have any recourse? And also maybe would some of your tunes possibly be published by Jamie Aebersold or anybody in the future?
Actually, well, to answer your first question first, I'm of two minds about that sort of stuff. I mean, I appreciate and realize the good that having this kind of literature around does, because there was a lack of it for a long time. And but that was a good thing for me. I mean, the lack for me meant that I had to do all of this work myself. I mean, I couldn't go out and just plop down $10 and go home, go to the store and buy a bunch of sheet music that had all this work that you need to do yourself in it. So, I mean, since it wasn't there, I had to transcribe a whole lot of solos myself. And in transcribing these solos, I think I got a little closer to the music, the musicians, than you get from the printed page. Now, that's not to say that the printed page shouldn't be there. Now, the second question, the real book, and I don't mean to mention any names like that, but books like that. I mean, you notice there's no return addresses in these books. And there's one guy in San Francisco, his name is Chuck Scher. He's a bass player, very fine bass player. He plays upright and Fender bass. He put together a book the way that it should be done. And he put this book together. This book is really laid out. It was sent to a printer and done very fine fashion. You can read everything in there. There's an address in there that you can write to the publisher of the book. He has a way of doing this, and the people whose tunes that he uses in there, they get paid for this. The same way as you do if you make a record. You get a certain percent. If you got a tune on this given record, you get paid for this. And I feel the same way about these books. I mean, great, it's good for you to have all of this literature. I got to this stuff without those books, so you can get to it without the books. But let's deal with the fact that the books are here. The books are here, so just make use of them. Just be aware of the fact that when you leave these Ivy halls here and become writers and stuff like that, great, the first couple of times that you see one of your tunes in the print, I mean, it's all well and good. And then you think about 10 bars down the street, wait a minute, I'm supposed to get paid for that, right? And then perhaps your position will change. But in the meantime, while those books are here, make use of them. I just didn't come that route. And if there was a way for most of the books to be done like my friend has done in San Francisco, great, then I'd be for it, because I really believe that you should be paid for the use of your music. And you should see to it that people perhaps like myself get paid for the use of our wares. Did that help you out? Right, yes, sir.
Yeah, Joe, I'd like to know your viewpoint. What are the day-to-day realities of the performing musician as yourself, just the business of being a musician?
Yeah, well, that's very interesting, because there's as many variables there as there are musicians out. I mean, what works for me may not necessarily work for another individual. But I think this, being involved in this game out here, bebop, has been pretty good for me. I mean, I can't think of any other way that I'd like to exist out here on this planet other than being involved in music one way or another. And I think it's a delightful way to make a contribution. I mean, we all have to do that in some form or fashion. So this is the best way I know how. And I think I've been able to give something back. I mean, I've arrived at that point with all these gray hairs jumping out here that I really feel like I should plant some seeds around and leave a few trees here because it's done some nice things for me. And that is, I think I've developed some extremely talented students, some people, some players in the while that I've been out here as a musician. There's a couple of people that play with Ray Charles' band now. I mean, that's just to mention a couple. And I think I had a hand in that. For me, I mean, I'm just delighted to know that as the same was done for me. Kenny Dorham laid a lot of things on me. Charlie Parker, Prez Bird, Stan Getz, Lee Conniff, you name it. I think I've absorbed something from all of these players. And I think it's just right for me to do the same thing. Now, some players I find it rough way out here, you know. I mean, they do their instrumentalizing around, and they just find that there's just not enough gigs to make a living, you know, to pay the bills and take care of the nutritional needs of your other half and your children and stuff like that. So for those of you that have talents as writers, composers, instrumentalists, and all that, I mean, while you're here, take advantage of this great place. I hope you realize this is one of the better places in this country here, and it's been here for a long time, and this is my first time here. I don't feel too happy about having waited so long, but I'm glad to be here now. And I do hope to come back here and do some more performing here, and perhaps some one-to-one teaching with some of the saxophone players. I teach improvisation in San Francisco. I have all kinds of students: bass, piano, drums, saxophone, flute players, trumpet, all that kind of thing. But I mean, if you're serious about it, I mean, give it a good shot. You know, give it your best, and you got to do something out here on this planet. This is the best thing I know. This is the best way I know to be involved out here. If you're a musician, I mean, really give it a good go. Try to have fun at it. Try to pass on some good notes and some good sounds to your fans. And I don't think that you'll find that you will have wasted your time as a musician. On the reality side, there are some musicians out there who have to do a lot of things. They play music, and they drive taxis in the daytime, you know, which is a kind of a drag. But then I know a guy, Elliot Zigman, he likes to do this. I mean, there's a point when you, after a while, I've been a musician for a long time, and I've never been one to want to work like 6 nights a week. I think I'd get burned out on 6 nights a week so fast. Give me 2 nights, 3 nights a week, and I could do that forever. But the business being the way that it is, I mean, you work for a month every day, and then you may be off for the next 2 months. So you have to kind of know how to budget your time, your energy, your bread, and all that kind of thing, and to get from one tax time to the next. Right, yeah, you know. Taxes, we know about those. Yeah, right, yeah, sure.
So if you were to learn jazz all over again like us, you would rather learn the way you learned it instead of the way we're learning it, Aerosol's albums and transcription?
Well, you know, I don't want to cast any bad aspersions because I think we have to deal with the reality of the fact that those things are here, but don't let them keep you from getting to an even deeper involvement with the music. I mean, that can keep you from the music on a level. I mean, that book is out there. All these great things are out there. And all you have to do is go buy them and say, oh, well, I'm done. I bought the record here. I've listened to these things for 4 or 5 weeks and then go out and do some gigs. It didn't work like that for me, you know. And I think I enjoyed it better getting closer to it the way that I did. And I'm not putting that down the way that Mr. Aebersold who serves a great purpose out here, providing these things, because being in institutions like this, you have to have literature like that around, you know. I just prefer the way that that I came through it, you know. As a matter of fact, I teach improvisation in San Francisco, and we don't deal with written music. And I've been around written music. I read very well. I've been reading for a long time, ever since the day one, you know. But in improvisation, I mean, you're dealing with that. I mean, you see, there's no music stands up here. We've got all this stuff committed to memory, you know. So I teach improvisation. I think I have developed a fairly good system a fairly successful system of teaching improv, which is very difficult to teach. I mean, I'm sure you must appreciate that. And I have people learn things. They learn by rote. And that's not to say that the book thing is not doesn't have a place out here. You know, definitely in places like this, the book definitely has a place. But I think you get closer to it when you get with that record. It was me and a record player. And every now and then, in the town that I came from was kind of a small town, there were a few players that came through, and I got to see live saxophone players every now and then, you know, live musicians. Otherwise, it was me and a record player. But that did me so well that by the time I got to college, my instructors all thought that I had perfect pitch because I'd done so much transcribing that, I mean, these things that they would lay on me to do, like in sight singing dictation class and stuff like that, was really nothing to it. I mean, I must have transcribed 10 million notes. And here we go, and they do this da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I just want you to write that down, you know. I said, oh, wait a minute, you kidding? I mean, I had done much more than that, you know. I mean, I had it so well that they swore them down that I had perfect pitch. And unless you have perfect pitch, you can't get on the inside of somebody's head and figure out what that phenomenon is, perfect. What is perfect pitch? You have to get inside of somebody's head to really understand what that is. I didn't know whether I had perfect pitch or not, you know. I just knew that I knew an A when I heard it, but I knew it from hearing it so much. Is that how you develop perfect pitch, or is that what you call a good relative pitch, or what? Or how do people that have perfect pitch, I mean, how do they know they have perfect pitch? I mean, you know, I just knew a G when I heard it, but I don't think that's perfect pitch. There's something else at work there that helps me to recognize a B flat and tell the difference between a B flat and an A, for example. But did that offer you anything in there? Right, yes, sir.
What specific things do you ask your students to do?
To make the experience different from one person to the next, and also this will depend on what an individual comes to the lessons with. I mean, different people have different things worked out. I mean, one person has been at it longer, so their experience level is a little higher. I'll assign them, and I create these things. This is the way that I write. I write every day. I'll assign them things to memorize from one week to the next. And they got 6 days to get this thing together. And I'll create this right then and there as I play piano, and I'll play for a soloist, and I'm assigning them lines. We just developed this thing like in the 12-bar blues. I'll give them 4 bars, and we'll work that out. They'll get that under their fingers. I'll run upstairs, have a drink of water, something like that. Well, they get that down. I'll come back down, give them another 4 bars. Then, et cetera, another 4 bars. They got 12 bars, okay? They work this out, and I try to discourage them from writing this down. I discourage them from bringing tape recorders because that also is relying on another situation that might break down on you, you know? I mean, once you get this brain working for you, you'll be able to retain. What I teach is I teach them to practice retention and to retain things, you know. And I've done it so well that after a couple of years of this, I've had people go out. We go out and listen to some music, and I'll have them write down 12 bars right as they hear it, you know, in a club where there's a band playing, you know. Not a real involved 12 bars, but a fairly not too difficult 12 bars. So write down this next 12 bars that you hear, you know, and they'll do it. You know, I'll have to use a tape recorder because I won't be able to remember what that is. I'll say, okay, well, solid. Now here it is, right here. This is what you wrote down, and this is what was played. And I think that works better on the level that somebody can teach you something in a matter of minutes, and you can learn it. You know, they put it down on the music paper for you, and here comes a good gush of wind and blows the paper away, and then there goes your gig. You know? So try to put, as well as doing your book learning and stuff like that, try to put the brain in there as well. I mean, trust yourself. I mean, you have to practice learning the things that you learn. And when you walk out to that microphone, I mean, you're not going to bring 5 music stands out there and a whole bunch of music and play. I mean, you're going to go out there and create things that you have sorted out in your brain. I mean, you've been practicing this system all the while, so when you get out there, you'll know something about it. I thought I saw somebody's hand over here. How about this section over here? Yeah.
Can you tell us about any plans that you might have next record?
Right. Yeah. Last week I was in New York and I took part in a real fine occasion in which they're going to relaunch the Blue Note record label. I mean, the Blue Note record label has been shopping around for a home over the past 6 or 7 years. I think it was in Japan at one time. I think I heard it was in France at one time. Well, it's back here in the States with all those fine records that I'm sure a lot of you have. The label was just not too well attended to. Okay, there's a guy who used to be the president of Columbia Records. His name is Bruce Lundvald. He's assigned himself the task of bringing this label back together and keeping it here in the country, in New York, and trying to get some of the players back that were with the label at one time. And I think I'm going to go back with that label again in a matter of a few weeks and start some more records coming out. Yeah. Thank you. That is a possibility. I mean, that depends on schedules. You know, Chick's schedule, Lenny's schedule, Freddie Hubbard's schedule, my schedule, and stuff like that. I'd like to because I really enjoyed that. There was 4 or 5 great records that we did. One was done live. It was a double album session that was done live. And there's a real interesting story about that. Shaka Khan's business people sort of wouldn't let her do the tour. We did a 5-concert tour. And we played in the first one in Denver, the second one in San Francisco. And after San Francisco, something happened to Freddie Hubbard, who I love, just vanished. People do that sometimes. You know, he just split, you know what I mean? Nobody could figure it out. And, I mean, you know, you just have to accept those things sometimes. You know, he came back, and he was a better person for it. But in the meantime... We played, and so we went, our third concert was supposed to be in Detroit. We played in Detroit, and somebody had the idea that I could play his part and my part. The part was either too high or too low, you know what I mean? So one way or another, I finally got through the music. Anyway, the next concert was in Detroit. In the meantime, all this time, we're waiting for Freddie to come to Detroit. We think, well, maybe he'll take the next flight, and then the next one, and then pretty soon the gig is over. Then we went to New York. Same thing. Nancy Wilson, since Shaka Khan's people wouldn't let her make the gig, Nancy Wilson came in. Okay, so we're around New York. We get there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we say, well, look, there's no point in starting this rehearsal now because Freddie will be here in a minute, you know? And so we did this, and we said this all the way till about 8 o'clock, and then the doors opened, you know? So we walked out on stage, and we had to do this music, Nancy Wilson's music. And, I mean, I didn't know her music. I appreciate and have an enormous amount of respect for her and all that, you know? So we got through the gig, and it was okay, and all that. Okay, the next gig was, the final one was in Los Angeles. Freddie lives in Los Angeles, right? So they had this bad snowstorm in New York, and we went out to take the plane out to Los Angeles from New York, and we sat there on the runway for about 2 hours, and the tower told the captain, look, you can't leave now. So, I mean, it snowed so hard there that one of these, whatever they call it, that comes and pulls the airplane out to the runway. I mean, instead of the airplane using its own power, they'll have another a truck or something to take it out to the runway. Okay, there was so much snow on the ground that somebody had to come back and get us to bring us back. We couldn't find our way back to the gate again because they wouldn't let us leave, right? Okay, in the process of all this panic and everything, we had to take a plane from Philly to Los Angeles. Chick Corea and Stanley Clark had the idea. They said, no, look, we'll take the plane from here. We can get out of here. So, you know, the wise ones, myself and a few of the other people included, went on to Philly, took the plane on out to Los Angeles. So when we get out there, Chick and Stanley were I don't know how they did it. They got out there about 3 minutes before we walked on stage to play this concert. But in the meantime, Stanley Clark's bass, Lenny's drums, Nancy's music, all of this stuff was left in New York. We had 3 roadies and a light man, and all this stuff was left in New York. So that record date that you heard was real, I mean, in the broad sense of the word, was a jam session. I think it came out pretty good. It was a video made on that and a record made of that. I think I get some of the best compliments that I've ever gotten so far on this session, you know. But I really would like to get that group back together again, because Freddie and I we have a great time. And Lenny, Chick, Stanley, we have a great time on the bandstand. Yeah, well, listen, okay, great. Listen, it's been my pleasure to have enjoyed you. Great, yeah. We're gonna sign off. We're gonna play a 3-minute tune. We're gonna try to play a 3-minute tune, and I'll say so long to you now. So for those of you who have to split, I'll see you next time, right?